Okay. Yeah. So in our previous class, we have observed the basics of strain life approach when this methodology can be most suitable compared to the SN approach. And finally, at the end of the class, I was showing you with this slide where we are obtaining the relationship between the true engineering stress and true stress and the engineering stress. Similarly, with the true strain and the engineering strain. Okay. So this was our discussion in our previous class, and this derivation is the most basic, which is there even in the strength of material books. If not, you can just refer to the Bannatyne and Julie Fatigue of Material book. In that book, at the beginning of the strain life approach, this derivation is also available. And it is for the self-study how we will obtain this relationship. Quite simple. We have to just correlate the corresponding parameter in the sense when we talk about the true stress, we have to talk about the true or the instantaneous area compared to the nominal area which we use for the engineering stress determination purpose. Similarly, the corresponding strain where we will only consider change in length with the original length. In reality, the length in case of true strain and engineering strain, when we compare, the original length remains the same. However, the rate of change, that is different. The rate of change is little bit different, but theoretically up to certain extent, when there is a lot of plastic deformation is not observed, in such cases, strain in the true strain case and strain in the engineering strain case may be, for example, brittle materials where there is not much significant strain is observed. Then in either case, the true strain engineering strain remains the same. Even the true stress engineering stress, assuming there is no significant reduction in the cross-sectional area. But if we talk about the ductile materials, then the rate of change with the small increment in the load is quite significant in case of ductile material, and therefore the strain at fracture, the true strain at fracture compared to the engineering strain at fracture are different. It is not the same. Though theoretically the mathematical equation is same, but the when we check for the rate of strain with every loading and the necking, the reduction in the area, the true reduction in the cross-section area, when that is considered, then obviously we are going to find the change in the total deformation what we notice. Okay. So this is all about the basic monotonic stress strain testing you have even done in your strength of material lab. From the fatigue point of view, please make a note of these relations, the relationship between engineering stress and the true stress, relationship between engineering strain and the true strain. Okay. Correspondingly, make a note of the notations. Certain books, people use these notations alternatively. So when it is there sigma, here it is assumed as true stress. But most often people use sigma for the engineering stress equation. It is left to the person which notation he want to consider, but it has to be maintained same throughout. So in this figure here, if you observe, sigma and epsilon are used for the properties for the true or the instantaneous parameter of the given material, whereas S and E symbol, S and E symbol are used for the definition of stress and strain to represent the stress and strain in case of engineering stress strain determination. So make a note of these notations also. Okay. Then, now what happens in case of engineering stress strain curve? This is simple monotonic stress strain curve which you have seen in your strength of material or material science and metallurgy. In those classes, you have already seen this. Maybe a moderately ductile material like steel, we may be considering the corresponding material as steel in this case. You can clearly observe upper and lower yield point. You can observe the strength enhancement because of the strain hardening effect. So anywhere after yielding, that means material undergoes plasticity to some extent. And if you release the load from there, fully release the load, for example, here, starting from 0, go on loading or go on stressing the component till you reach to the point P, and at point P, unload the component, release the loading. Then what happens? Do you observe the whatever shape which was changed is regaining? You will not find regaining. If at all it is a elasticity zone, we are into the elasticity zone. For example, initially we have loaded from 0 to some point, somewhere point here, some point Q, for example, you have loaded up to here. If you release from this state, the curve will follow the same path back. And you will regain the original shape and size. But once there is yielding, if you are going to release, then original shape and size cannot be regained. But there is some amount of elasticity, some amount of plasticity together. So whatever the plastic part you have achieved, that cannot be regained. But whatever the elastic part is there, that is still regained. So for example, when you pull a specimen, when you are going to pull a specimen L with some load P, assuming there is a linear proportionality, P is proportional to some length L, okay, the total deformation you might find some delta L, okay, some delta L. If you release this load P, then the same delta L is not retained. If it is plastically deformed, for example, same delta L is not retained, some recoiling is there. In the material. That is because of the elastic part. So total length L, initial length, what you had, plus you will have some value, some change delta, which is delta L minus elastic recovery. Okay, some portion. So total deformation now L plus this delta, not the initial deformation. So the same is plotted over this diagram. If you release at load P, then the material will follow this particular dashed line, what is shown here, this particular path. Then what is the portion? Before release, this is the total strain. Total strain. Okay. It is a part of plastic strain and the elastic strain. Elastic strain, we have direct relation with the Young's modulus. Sigma is proportional to strain. That part is this curve, whatever the elasticity you have regained. Therefore, elastic strain we can calculate stress by Young's modulus. Sigma by E will give you the elastic part. Then what about the plastic part? How to calculate, how to obtain this particular value? Luckily, there is a equation. For this part also, plastic strain. Okay, similar to that of we have the Baskin equation, power law. Same way here also there is one power law which is possible to correlate the plastic strain with the help of corresponding stress. Okay, so this equation is one of the important equation. Just rearrange that for the epsilon. From here, rearrange that for the epsilon. We are going to find sigma by k 1 by n, where k is known as the strength coefficient, n being the strain hardening exponent. So similar to any graph, any curve, you have any graph or any curve, similar to this particular curve. If you have a curve like this, you have the slope of this curve is nothing but the n. Slope is nothing but the n, strain hardening exponent. Whereas the strength coefficient, the maximum strength, usually it is the true engineering fracture strength. Okay, that becomes the parameter k, strength coefficient, in a graph of sigma versus epsilon p, plastic strain. Okay, in this graph axis sigma versus epsilon p, we are going to have slope of the curve to be n, that is nothing but strain hardening exponent, and k to be the strength coefficient, usually true fracture strength in the absence of data, or experimentally can also be this k value we can determine. So this power law we will rearrange and we can fit this into the corresponding locations for epsilon p and for epsilon e. Epsilon e means elastic strain. Elastic strain which is recoverable is given by the equation sigma by e. Plastic strain which is given by the equation sigma by k into the to the power n. So this is the expression for the total strain in the material. So whenever we are going to pull a material and release, in case of fatigue, cyclic load we have to apply, no? Cyclic. Here cyclic strains are applied, cyclic strain. I have to pull for certain amount of deflection, some deformation. Say if the bar is of 100 mm initial length, when you apply here, instead of writing P, I will write that displacement delta, we have to make 0.1 mm, for example, constant, plus or minus 0.1 mm. Okay, so we have to pull for 0.1 mm, we have to compress it for 0.1 mm. So 0 to 0.1, cyclic load. 0 to 0.1, come back to 0, go to the minus 0.1, so come like this. Okay, so strain, if you want, it can just calculate delta L, that is 0.1 divided by the original length L. Okay, so you can do this part to determine the strain. So this is strain versus number of cycles. Number of cycles, or we can talk about time t. Within time t, how many cycles? Okay, so in case of strain life, we are applying the strain. So this is a total strain. Epsilon t, this much is the total strain amplitude we are applying over the component. In this 0.1, when you pull for 0.1, how much is the elastic part, how much is the plastic part? That has to be determined. So we have that total strain equation, elastic and plastic, and corresponding stress parameters are available in this fashion. Okay. Now further, little bit simplification of this equation, we can talk about corresponding true stress and true strain parameters. So true fracture strength, epsilon F, you know that load at fracture divided by area at the fracture, or the instantaneous area at that point of time. So area at fracture is definitely much lesser than the original cross-sectional area because of the necking, the drastic reduction in the cross-sectional area. Correspondingly, we can also determine true fracture ductility or strain at the true fracture level. A naught by AF, change in area divided the original area divided by the change final area. This will give us the corresponding strain. We can also express that in terms of the reduction in the cross-sectional area equation, that is measure of ductility. You have seen this expression in the strength of material. So these are the two equations where we can correlate the corresponding fracture strength and corresponding true fracture ductility coefficient epsilon F. If we replace this into the corresponding equation, into this particular equation, where K and N are constant, sigma and epsilon P we can relate with the same equation. True fracture stress is equal to strength coefficient into the true strain to the power n. True strain at the fracture. True strain at the fracture. Rearrange the equation. Just rearrange the equation to obtain the value for strength coefficient K. Strength coefficient K, we have sigma F epsilon F to the power n. So we earlier had epsilon T, total strain is elastic strain plus the plastic part. Then we are aware that sigma E is nothing but stress by Young's modulus, Hooke's law. Elastic part is governed by the Hooke's law and the plastic part is governed by the power law, which we had sigma by K to the power n. Now K being the strength coefficient. I have plotted the graph earlier, strength coefficient. This is the plastic strain. This part is the corresponding sigma. Then we have the graph. We have the line. This need not be linear line, okay? At present, I have just represented the line. The slope of this particular curve is n. Slope of this particular curve is 1, and the intercept for the maximum strain till fracture, the maximum stress, corresponding stress at fracture, corresponding strain, we are going to find the strength coefficient K, that intercept. So how to obtain this intercept mathematically is this particular relationship between sigma F and the epsilon F and to the power slope of that particular curve, where these are fixed parameters. True fracture strength is a fixed parameter. You can determine from the tensile strength test, tensile test, simple basic monotonic loading tensile test. We can determine the true fracture stress. Corresponding total deflection or deformation or elongation of the bar at the fracture, we can determine with the epsilon F straightforward. So therefore, strength coefficient K can be calculated in this particular fashion from the experiments. Okay. So in this equation for the K parameter now, for the K parameter, you rearrange the corresponding strain equation. With this particular given values. Okay. So that rearrangement has been done here, nothing but the rearrangement. Okay. Here they have done only for the plastic part. They have taken epsilon P is equal to sigma by K into N. Here you replace the K part with this, rearrange the equation. We will get the plastic strain is nothing but a function of true fracture ductility coefficient or strain at fracture corresponding to the ratio of the applied stress to the true fracture strength of the material. Okay. So ultimately we need to get expression for the total strain in terms of elastic and the plastic. Okay. So this is the graph which I was talking about to take the true fracture strain and the strength coefficient K from a plot of true stress versus the true strain. So for steel material, usually this is somewhere around 1200, 1500, 1600, that much value you will get the intercept at that particular location. Okay. Yeah, other things are same. I have already explained about this graph, about the parameter K and N dash. Here only change is with the second graph, the parameter dash. You can observe here dash. Okay. The dash symbol, whenever you have in the strain life approach, the dash symbol for the cyclic properties. Whenever we find K dash, N dash, we assume that this is obtained for cyclic cases. If there is no dash, we will write K and N, then it is for the monotonic curve. Monotonic curve, that is simple strength of material lab tension test. From the simple strength of material lab tension test, if you obtain these material properties, that is the strength coefficient K and the slope of the curve N, then we will simply represent as K and N. But if at all these properties K and N are determined from cyclic loading, not from the monotonic loading, cyclic loading, we have a term called, later we'll see, at present we'll complete this discussion, CSSC curve. Cyclic, C means cyclic, S means stress, first S stress, second S for strain. So cyclic stress strain curve, last C indicates the curve. So cyclic stress strain curve, from there if we are determining these properties, then we indicate the notation K dash and N dash. Okay, where K dash being the, or K dash is nothing but the true fracture strength, coefficient, and epsilon F, the N dash being the slope of that particular curve. Okay, stress versus plastic strain curve. Screen is visible, no?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, yeah. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. Thank you. Thank you for the confirmation. Yeah, fine. Okay. So just update the equation. Total stress strain. This type of equation is known to be Ramberg-Osgood stress strain relationship. Ramberg-Osgood stress strain relationship equation. Okay. So earlier from your strength of material lab, stress versus strain diagram, for any material, moderately ductile material like steel, we have a linear part, then we have clear cut yield point. Because of the strain hardening, then strength increases and reaches ultimate value, and then it decreases to the fracture point. This is our general curve. Now what you have done in case of strength of material lab, you have determined various parameters. You have found out sigma E, elastic stress, that is load at that particular point divided by the original area. You might have determined upper lower yield point, or in general the yield point, load at yield by A naught. You might have determined the ultimate load by the original area. Similarly, the sigma F, the load at fracture divided by the original area. When we talk about the true stress, sigma F, true fracture strength stress, you have considered the load at fracture divided by the instantaneous or the final cross sectional area. Any other stress if you want to determine, sigma YT, true stress, true yield strength. At the yielding point, very small reduction in the area is there. Py by this cross sectional area, I write AI just to indicate instantaneous at that particular point. Measuring the reduction in the area at that particular point itself is one of the challenge. Okay. Even if we pull and hold at that particular location, then also there will be some elongation. That is the indication of upper lower yield point. Though you hold the load steady, even though you do not rise also, there is some deformation takes place till the material balances itself because of the initial plastic deformation at microscopic level, maybe localized region, plastic deformation. Then any rise in the load, to some extent, again it is withstanded with little bit further deformation. And that deformation is very, very small. Therefore, you will not find the word called true yield strength and the initial yield strength or the regular engineering yield strength. That I will write here yes rather than yes we have used for other case engineering. Okay, that doesn't matter. You please understand the values. I am writing with here F fracture strength, FT. Okay, true fracture strength load at that particular area at that point. Fine. So at the place of yielding, the reduction in this area A naught and the instantaneous area at that time is very, very small. Therefore, the values between the engineering yield stress as well as the true yield stress are almost equal. So it is almost equal. But when coming to the ultimate point, there is significant necking is available. After yielding, significant reduction in the cross-sectional area is there. Therefore, if you want ultimate strength, true ultimate strength, it is always recommended to consider load at that particular time and the instantaneous area at that particular time. That is mandatory. Okay, and then obviously you know that fracture strength is definitely lot more difference. Okay, this is what you do in case of the simple tensile test. Okay, then we want to obtain the parameter. We want to obtain the certain parameter. How Young's modulus can be determined? We will take slope of this particular curve. You have not taken slope somewhere here where there is non-linearity. Okay, if you take slope at this particular point for this curve, then you will find what is the stress and strain relationship, sigma and strain, how they are related for this particular curve, which is observed to be non-linear. Here it is linear. Stress is proportional to strain in this region, only in this particular region. When you talk about the plastic region, here stress is not proportional to strain. Then what is the relationship between them? Okay, obtaining total strain relationship is not possible. Therefore, we plot the plastic strain. We can measure the plastic strain and the corresponding sigma at that particular value. Because if you release any point from here, it will take back to the elastic path and you can clearly obtain the plastic and the recovery portion, how much portion has been recovered, epsilon E. This total here is the total strain, total strain. Okay, so elastic part, plastic part differentiation is possible. The graph you have to plot for the plastic strain, okay. And when there is a fracture strain, in the fracture strain there is no elastic part, material is completely separated. That is the maximum possibility. After breaking only you are measuring the strain at fracture. Before breaking there is no strain at fracture. Once total separation is there, that is strain at fracture. So at strain at fracture is nothing but whatever strain is there, that is all plastic itself. It is fracture. That is the final position. After that only you are making the plastic part calculation for fracture. Okay. So therefore that epsilon F comes on the same graph. You plot the corresponding graph. This slope is the parameter N. Okay. This is what we used to relate for the plastic term. Here straightforward sigma by E for the elastic. For the plastic term we have the power law, epsilon plastic, which is nothing but sigma by K to the power N. You want to rearrange, you can rearrange. We know that K is nothing but sigma F divided by epsilon F to the power N. You can replace this for K and rearrange the equation. That is possible. Okay. Our K value you know from this particular graph. The strength at the fracture point, strength coefficient, true fracture strength at that particular fracture value. That is nothing but the strength coefficient K. We can use that into this equation, and this type of equation relating the stress and strain, both elastic part and the plastic part, this is known to be Ramberg-Osgood equation. Ramberg-Osgood equation. And this relation, epsilon P relation, is given by Manson. Same Manson earlier we have seen in high cycle fatigue approach. Manson's theory, Manson's double linear theory, damage rule. The same person with his lot of extensive experiments, he has determined that plastic strain can also be related. So stress can be related to the plastic strain. There is possible to obtain a relationship between stress versus strain. Similarly, you have related sigma to the epsilon E. This is through Hooke's law. Elastic part stress strain relation through Hooke's law. Plastic part relation is governed by the Manson's hypothesis, Manson's theory, and that is what is the corresponding equation. That is sigma is related by a constant K, to the plastic strain. But this relation is not directly proportional. It is with reference to some exponent which indicates the non-linearity in this curve. The non-linear behavior is taken care by this parameter n. Hooke's law states that sigma is proportional to strain, and the proportionality constant is E in the elastic region, Young's modulus E. In the plastic region, stress is not directly proportional to strain. It is related by a constant K, strength coefficient, and that non-linearity parameter n. Okay, so this is what is the basic postulate of this total strain equation, and this total strain equation is formed by the Ramberg and Osgood, two of the famous researchers. They have given the expression for the total strain in the material as a breakup of elastic part and the plastic part. Okay. Remember here, as I said, all these parameters here you see, we have not written K dash and N dash at present. Okay. So K dash N dash we have not written. That means this equation is obtained from a monotonic load stress strain diagram, monotonic load stress strain curve. Same static tensile test what you do in your strength of material lab, from the same test this equation has been coined. Okay. Then there is one more equation for the total strain, sigma by E plus sigma by K dash whole to the power N dash. Now you see here we are using dash. So this type of equation, if there is dash and N dash, we say that this is Ramberg-Osgood type of equation. You see this word carefully, Ramberg-Osgood type equation. In your books also it is there. You see the difference. One place it is there as Ramberg-Osgood equation. Another place it is there as Ramberg-Osgood type of equation. Which is Ramberg-Osgood equation? The equation obtained for a monotonic load case. The total strain equation which is obtained for a monotonic case is Ramberg-Osgood equation. So don't have doubt on this. Okay. Make it very clear to yourself. Ramberg-Osgood equation is a relationship between stress and strain in the plasticity region. Which involve the elastic part and the plastic part. Total strain is related to the total stress. And that equation has been developed for monotonic case. If we substitute the cyclic strength coefficient in the plastic region and cyclic strain hardening exponent n, then the equation can be rearranged as shown here in the leftmost side. I have written just now. Like this, we can rearrange. Okay, but at that time we will indicate k dash and n dash. We will write k dash and n dash. Okay, then this type of equation is known as stress strain relationship for the cyclic loading or cyclic stress strain curve properties. K dash n dash are cyclic stress strain curve properties. Or this equation is also known as Ramberg-Osgood type of equation. Not Ramberg-Osgood equation, Ramberg-Osgood type of equation, when we write the same equation as that of Ramberg-Osgood with cyclic properties. Okay, let us look into that. Then what is mean by cyclic stress strain curve, CSSC? Soon we are going to look into the CSSC, cyclic stress strain curve, and what are the properties that we are talking about K dash and N dash in this curve. Okay, and why this cyclic stress strain curve is different than your monotonic curve. This is also CSSC, stress strain curve only. We have two curves, strain versus stress. Stress strain curve itself. Okay, once for the monotonic loading case, once for the cyclic loading case. Curve is same, stress and strain relationship only, cyclic curve. Okay, cyclic curve. Here the curve follows this particular fashion. Okay, and equation for this particular curve, the total strain we can write in this particular fashion, sigma E plus sigma by k to the power n. This is Ramberg-Osgood equation. Ramberg-Osgood equation. For cyclic stress strain curve, here also we will follow the same path. Similar curve you have. Here total strain is related by sigma by E, and we will write sigma by k dash to the power n dash. I think it is 1 by n dash, sorry. Okay, I have written only n dash here. It is 1 by n. Okay, please make a note. It is 1 by n. So here it is 1 by n, 1 by n dash. This equation is now Ramberg-Osgood type of equation. Remember about this word. The type means we are telling that CSSC curve also have the similar relation, not the same relation, similar relation as that is obtained for a monotonic curve by the Ramberg and Osgood. Therefore, it is written Ramberg and Osgood type of equation. It is not said Ramberg-Osgood equation in the CSSC curve. Okay. Now, what is special about CSSC curve, cyclic stress strain curve? You compare either case, both are stress strain diagram only. Both are stress versus strain behavior only. But this particular CSSC, cyclic load CSSC curve, this stress and strains curve is determined under the cyclic load. That is the only difference, cyclic load. This monotonic means in the strength of material lab, what you have done in the tensile test. That is monotonic stress strain diagram. Okay. Now let us see how this CSSC curve is developed. What are the methods to obtain this curve now? To obtain CSSC curve, strength of material lab, monotonic test is not sufficient. We have to apply cyclic load then. Let us see how to obtain that. What is exactly meant by stress strain diagram, and what are the various parameters play a role here. There is a term comes now, hysteresis. We will look into that also. Okay. Compared to monotonic loading case, make note of one point. CSSC curve, cyclic stress strain curve, CSSC. In short, we will write CSSC, cyclic stress strain curve. Now these are useful in closely predicting the actual or practical nature of the behavior of the component subjected to cyclic loading. Whereas monotonic load case also people use in the absence of cyclic data. So if there is no cyclic data, we will retain the monotonic properties K and N. In the absence, we will assume that. But if it is available, then it is recommended to go with the cyclic properties. Okay. Then there are few terms which we have to understand that I will explain with the hysteresis. After that, we look into when we are solving a problem, when to consider CSSC curve property, when to consider the monotonic curve property. So here we can observe a hysteresis loop. Hysteresis loop. Now, how this hysteresis loop is obtained? Okay. First, you take a specimen, experimental specimen. Same way you take it in your strength of material lab. Take a measured gauge length, standard size, hourglass shape experimental specimen. Now what you do? You have to start loading. Same fashion in your monotonic load. Start loading. Start loading. Okay. So the red color line what I am drawing here is now following the monotonic stress strain curve. So this is your monotonic stress strain curve. First cycle. At 0, I am going to load the component till it reaches some point P. Earlier in the diagram, at the beginning, stress strain diagram, monotonic load, I have shown you. Load it and then unload from point P. You have seen that it is following the same path as that of the elastic curve. Somewhat similar path as that of elastic curve, which gives you the plastic strain, and this particular distance is the elastic strain. Okay. So after reaching to that particular point P, release the load. Okay. So the component regains its shape to some extent, not fully, because you have released it at the plastic region. Okay. Some portion it will follow the elastic path E. Same fashion to this. So the slope of this curve will assume that it is somewhat linear curve, as that this hysteresis loop is followed. Okay. You have to unload it. Now this particular portion of strain, whatever is there, is the plastic. This is the portion which is elastic for the first half, only for the first half. So therefore I will write as half of, because I am going to load it further in this case. After reaching here, after unloading to 0, go on stressing further in the opposite direction. Apply load compression side. Go on applying the load compression side. First, some load is required to overcome the previous plastic deformation which is occurred because of the tension. That plastic deformation need to be closed. And once that complete plastic deformation is closed, now the component will reach to the original shape and size. But by this time, there exist compressive residual stresses. Compressive stresses are developed in the component till you overcome this particular deformation which is occurred because of the previous load. And after that, you extend the load further till you find the yielding or the plastic region. And from there, if you release, same behavior what you have observed earlier, you are going to find some elastic recovery, some plasticity. So you have some elastic recovery, epsilon E by 2. By 2 is only to indicate a full cycle, tension and compression side. Half cycle, certain thing is happened, next half another thing is happened. So you can see the total range of plastic strain here, delta epsilon P, total range of elastic part. So it is a range, therefore delta. Okay. We are applying the strain, total strain, one full cycle, for example. One full cycle, total strain we have applied or corresponding stress. So this is the strain, total strain and time maybe or number of cycles. So in one cycle, this is the epsilon T max, total strain max. This is the epsilon T minimum. Okay. And after this particular point, till in the compression side, it reaches to the original, the previous zero stress level. Then if you want to load further, if you want to load again further, there is already some plastic deformation because of the compression. The deformation then has to overcome till it reaches to zero. By that time, tensile stress is developed, and this loop is then repeated. You will not get the previous path. Okay, maybe, yeah. Next loop is here. So then cycle after cycle, till the further plastic deformation is observed. Further plastic deformation is observed, we are going to have only this particular path, followed by this particular path. This is the one plastic loop, one plastic loop. When you load it from zero, the component, first cycle, you have loaded from zero till point P, unload it to some distance, okay. Then after that, start compressing. Some permanent set is there, some plastic deformation is there. First you have to overcome that, okay. At that time, when you overcome that earlier plastic deformation to get the original previous shape and size, some amount of stress will develop in the component. Then you continue applying the load till you find the yielding on the another direction. After that, one more point, maybe let us say P1, P dash or P1, start unloading. You will reach this particular point. Some deformation permanent set is there in the compression side, reduce dimension, and then start loading again. So this is one path. Okay. So like this, next time take one more sample and load it till one more point Q. One more point Q. Release it from there. Maybe I'll change the color. From 0 point, take it up to Q. Forget about the previous blue color loop. Take a new specimen, load it up to point Q, unload it, then load it in the compression side, load it till it yields in the compression direction, take it back, you have the next hysteresis loop. Okay. If you are loading it till Q, then the hysteresis loop is as I have marked with the green color here. So like this, you can take n number of samples, multiple samples, okay. Load it till different levels, like this Q or different load levels. You have to load it, then release it till you obtain the stable hysteresis loop. Stable hysteresis loop, that is what is shown maybe later here. Okay. So this is the initial origin O. First load it, first cycle you can load it till a particular value, then release it from there. You have first hysteresis loop. Similarly, take one more sample, load it till another level, maybe this is point P, this is point Q. You have the next hysteresis loop. Okay. Then take maybe one more point X, load it till there, and then release it in the, then load it in the compression side. You have the next hysteresis loop. So like this, for different magnitude of intervals, you have the monotonic curve here. I will draw the monotonic curve. This is maybe monotonic curve. You have to start from the beginning, from 0. Initially, take one specimen, load it till this level, point P. Take one more specimen, load it till some other point Q. Take one more specimen, load it till some other point X. Load it till some other point Y. Load it till some other point Z. Okay. Every time you load till there, release and unload, load it in the opposite direction, compression side direction, till you get this stabilized hysteresis loop. Once you have obtained the stabilized hysteresis loops, next your job is I think yellow color would be fine. Okay. Next your job is connect the tip of all these hysteresis loops. Are you observing here? Connect the tip of the hysteresis loops. What I am marking with yellow color here now. Tip of all the hysteresis loops. Either side you can do this. Tension side as well as the compression side. I am marking here with the yellow color. Connect the tip of the hysteresis loops. What I have marked with the yellow color line. So this yellow color curve is the CSSC, cyclic stress strain curve. Okay, not the hysteresis loop, CSSC. And you can see in this diagram we are showing both. I am showing both here on this diagram, starting from 0 position origin. You can see here a monotonic curve is also shown for your reference. Compare between the cyclic properties and the monotonic properties. So this is a monotonic curve, what I marked with red color. What I marked here with the yellow color is the cyclic stress strain curve. Okay. For this material, for this given material, some material, okay, as given in this reference, you can go and refer here. As given in this particular reference, for that material, this is the monotonic curve, red color, what I have marked. In strength of material lab, if you test that particular material, you get like this behavior. For example, instance, you take the same material, different samples, load it to some extent, unload it till you get the stable hysteresis loop. Once you have the stable hysteresis loop, maybe you can retire that component, take one more sample, load it to some more magnitude Q. From there you release and obtain the hysteresis loop for that. So like this, multiple hysteresis loops should be obtained, and then tip of the hysteresis loop should be connected starting from the origin. That curve is known to be the cyclic stress strain diagram. Okay, so I'll go back again. I will erase here, maybe I will discard, that is easy. Okay. Okay. So this diagram is a hysteresis loop. This is not CSSC diagram. Sometimes I have seen students writing this as CSSC. This is a hysteresis diagram. Okay. Hysteresis curve, what is shown here. Like this, multiple hysteresis curve should be generated. Multiple hysteresis curve, maybe one more hysteresis curve here. Okay. Similarly, one more hysteresis curve. Depending on the magnitude, it might vary in its shape. Okay. One more hysteresis loop. So like this, multiple hysteresis loops for the material should be generated. Multiple hysteresis loops should be generated. And then tip off all these hysteresis curves. Tip off all these hysteresis curves, say these tips. Okay, starting from the origin, either side. I will do it in the tension side here. Connect the tip of the hysteresis loop curves. Connect the tip of the hysteresis loop curves. So if you have further, you will get further in this particular fashion. So this curve, what you get by connecting the hysteresis loop tips is the cyclic stress strain curve diagram. Monotonic stress strain curve diagram, without connecting the hysteresis loops, you are only making for one load. You go on pulling the material, you get the corresponding stress strain diagram. Monotonic stress strain diagram, single. What is obtained by connecting? That is a CSSC diagram. Both we can show on the same graph, not a problem. Okay. Once the hysteresis loop is known, you can draw both on the same graph. Say here, now cyclic stress strain curve, you observe, it can follow the same path as that of the monotonic curve. It can be lesser like this. It can be greater than this. Okay. It can show you even the mixed mode. Some place it can take greater, then it may come down, then maybe like this. Okay. What does it indicate? When you apply the cyclic load over the material is now not showing you the same stress strain behavior relationship as that you obtained for a monotonic case. That is the idea. What you observe with your monotonic case, the same relationship, stress strain relationship under the cyclic loading component will not follow. That is the outcome from by constructing the stress strain relationship for cyclic load. Okay. Then what is mean by if the cyclic stress strain curve do not follow the same path of the monotonic load, if it is following the lower path, that means under cyclic load material is getting softened. Material is getting softened, not strain hardened. If the path followed by cyclic stress strain curve is greater than the monotonic curve, then the meaning is material is getting cyclically hardened. With every cycle of load, material is getting strain hardened. If the curve is above the monotonic path, monotonic curve. If the curve is initially high, then it is decreasing. What does it mean? For the initial certain cycle, certain period of certain magnitude of cycles, the component shows you the material shows you strain hardening behavior. After particular time, after covering particular number of cycles, material start to soften by itself under the applied loading. Now, why this phenomena occurs? This could be related to various microscopic features. Grain dislocation, grain boundary strengthening, or grain boundary weakening. Various microscopic features. Diffusion could be there, imperfection, moving, dislocation, pinning. These are all microstructure related aspects, the phenomena, physical phenomena, which are causing the strengthening or degradation of the material strength. Okay. So this is about cyclic stress strain curve diagram. I think now you can closely relate this particular relation, Ramberg-Osgood equation, what is given for the monotonic curve, and what is given by the cyclic curve, the Ramberg-Osgood type of equation. Epsilon T is sigma by E plus sigma by K to the K dash and 1 by N dash. CSSC curve equation. Okay. Other one is monotonic curve equation. Okay. Okay. So in a hysteresis curve, we talk about ranges. That is what is given here. Amplitude is half of the range. Amplitude means half of the range. You can see delta epsilon by 2 means what? Epsilon max minus epsilon minimum divided by 2. That is it. Delta sigma by 2 means what? Sigma max minus sigma minimum by 2. Stress amplitude. Earlier we have done even in high cycle fatigue SN approach. Sigma max minus sigma minimum by 2. You have a graph cycle, maximum stress 0, minimum stress. So this is your sigma minimum, sigma maximum. If you apply corresponding load, then in case of strain life approach, we will apply strain amplitude, not the stress amplitude. Strain amplitude, let us say this is your 0.1 plus 0.1. Take it to the minus 0.1. If it is completely reversed strain cycle, completely reversed. We can have all other type as we discussed in the the second chapter, various type of fatigue loads. We can have like this also, repeated. We can have any nature, random, variable amplitude, any nature of loading. Whether you control that load by stress, applied load magnitude, or you control the applied load by the deformation, deflection, or the strain parameter. That is left to you, how you want to control. So you want to apply load which is causing 0.1 mm, let us say 0.1 mm of deformation, or you want to apply a load till it creates certain amount of stress in the component. This differentiates strain life or the stress life based approach. Okay. So in a hysteresis loop, the total range is delta epsilon by 2 in case of strain life discussions or strain related parameter discussions. Stress life related discussions, it is delta sigma by 2, that is stress range by 2, or sigma max minus sigma minimum by 2. Okay. So this is various parameter what is written over the hysteresis loop. If you have any doubt in this hysteresis loop, you can ask. Okay. But we'll go to the next. So total strain is nothing but elastic part and the plastic part, where elastic part can be easily related with the help of epsilon, this Hooke's law, Young's modulus. Plastic part, we have to use the corresponding equation. Okay, true plastic range. We have to determine this plastic part. CSSC, I have explained, and I have explained one method. There are three different methods are there to obtain this hysteresis loop, and then connect the tip of these hysteresis loops to obtain the CSSC curve. In this case, you see, CSSC curve is above the monotonic load curve. To some extent it is above, some region it is low. Let us clearly make a note of that. Some other phenomena also there, I will discuss soon with the next coming slides. You can see here, this is monotonic curve, what I have marked here now with yellow color. Okay, you compare in this particular region. The red color line is much below. So in this particular region, under cyclic load, the material is showing the softening behavior. And once yielded, you can see under cyclic load, material strength is go on increasing because of the cyclic hardening. Where in case of monotonic load, you can see material is almost retaining its strength uniformly to some extent. Okay, within the defined strain ranges as shown here. This is an experimentally determined curve or figure. Okay. So now we are planning to write the same Ramberg-Osgood equation, sigma epsilon, what we had. Total strain is nothing but sigma by E plus sigma by K into power n, Ramberg-Osgood equation. We used to write elastic strain plus the plastic strain, Ramberg-Osgood equation. So we have the monotonic curve. For this curve, we can write Ramberg-Osgood equation, total strain sigma by E, sigma by K to the power 1 by n. To the power 1 by n. Okay, power 1 by n. We have CSSC curve. CSSC curve also same fashion as that of the monotonic load curve, cyclic load curve. So here sigma strain total is equal to sigma by A plus sigma by, we will write K dash and 1 by n dash. Equation still remains same. If you want to write the equation for a hysteresis loop curve in terms of the strain amplitudes, okay, in terms of strain amplitude, you have the hysteresis curve. For this, if you want to write the total strain, this is the total strain range. In this, we have this much is the plastic part, delta epsilon P. This is elastic part, delta epsilon by 2, elastic. This is what we are writing in this equation. Elastic plus plastic. Use of, this is written in terms of range, total. Here we have written in terms of the amplitudes. Okay, that is why you can see the symbol 2 here, notation 2. In previous slide somewhere we have shown you, here. Delta epsilon by 2, epsilon A or delta epsilon. Similarly, delta sigma is equal to epsilon A, amplitude. Sorry, not delta sigma, I mean amplitude. Delta sigma by 2, half of the range, here, half of the range. This together is the delta epsilon. Half of that is the amplitude, epsilon A. So that is what is written here. Okay, in terms of amplitudes, just replace or use the Hooke's law, elastic part we can replace delta epsilon by E, just Young's modulus will come. Delta epsilon E is nothing but delta sigma by E by using Hooke's law. So that is replaced, then the plastic part. So this is the hysteresis equation, same as that of Ramberg equation, same as that of CSS equation, but only difference is the hysteresis curve is expressed in terms of the stress and strain range. We relate stress and strain range in case of hysteresis equation. Hysteresis loop is developed for a stress strain ranges. Okay. So half of the hysteresis you want to talk about, then it is the amplitudes, half of the region. Therefore, you can see the notation 2. Okay. So this is all about the various equations we are going to make use in a strain life approach. Okay. We have not yet discussed about life estimating equation in strain life method. We are only talking about the basic equations, how the material will respond, to the applied load, how to capture that material response. Okay. Then there are few topics related to, as I have explained, the difference between monotonic curve and the CSSC curve, monotonic stress strain curve and the cyclic stress strain curve, epsilon, sigma, stress strain relationship, simple stress strain relationship. If I draw the blue line, I consider this curve is obtained for the simple tension test in the static test in the lab, SOM lab. Okay, so we say monotonic SS curve, monotonic SS curve. Now I will draw with one more color the CSSC, cyclic stress strain curve, which is obtained by connecting the tip of all the hysteresis loops, connecting the tip of various hysteresis loops, maybe a curve. Why color is not changing? It is following this particular path. So this curve is actually plotted by connecting the tip of hysteresis loops. So we do require hysteresis loops to draw this particular curve. So maybe we had one hysteresis loop like this, one more hysteresis loop. So first we have to obtain the hysteresis loops. We have to connect the tip of this hysteresis loop to obtain the CSSC, cyclic stress strain diagram. Okay. So like this, by connecting the tip of hysteresis loop, let us say the red color line is your CSSC curve, cyclic stress strain diagram curve. Okay. Throughout all the places we have to connect it. I am not drawing here everything. Okay, and these are green colored are the hysteresis equation. So whatever the parameter, what are mentioned here about Bauschinger effect, cyclic hardening, cyclic softening, then cyclic stress relaxation, sequence or loading effect, this I already explained elaborately in SN approach chapter. That is why here note is mentioned, similar to that as discussed in the high cycle fatigue. Same effects, same discussion is valid. Only thing is, instead of saying stress is applied greater, we say here the strain, overload cycle or strain, rather than explaining with reference to overload stress cycle, we say overload strain cycle. With that, what is the effect with the smaller magnitude strain cycle, strain life? So that, like that we will discuss. Okay, and the residual stress concept also already we have discussed. Only will highlight about the residual stresses, how they are going to be effective in increasing the life or decreasing the life in case of strain life equations. So it's effect considering this particular residual stress effect in the mathematical equation of strain life, that is what we are going to talk. So all the discussion what we are going to do is related to these three diagrams. You have to be clearly clarified about these three cases. One is the monotonic curve, monotonic stress strain curve. Other one is cyclic stress strain curve, and the curve, nature of curve is the hysteresis diagrams. Hysteresis diagram. These three curves we have to be aware when we go into the strain life approach. We need to be aware about three equations. One is Ramberg-Goskett equations for the stress strain relationship, that is sigma by E plus sigma by K to the power 1 by N. Ramberg-Goskett for the monotonic curve. We have to be aware about the total strain equation for cyclic curves, CSSC curve. First part remains the same. So CSSC curve and the monotonic curve both follows the same Hooke's law in the elastic region, and then we have the sigma by, we will write K dash, not K, just to differentiate between cyclic property, we write K dash and N dash. And we need to be aware about the elastic part. Total strain range is delta epsilon by 2E plus delta epsilon plastic by 2. Okay. Hysteresis loop equation. All the equations are in the same fashion, Ramberg-Goskett type of equation fashion. It is just a stress versus strain relationship, stress-strain relationship for these curves, Okay. Based on this, we will have all further discussion. I think today I will stop here. Lot many equations we have discussed today. In the next class, I will talk about all these various aspects, moreover confining to the syllabus only. If anyone interested to learn further on this, you can explore by your own, or after the class hours, someday we can book a slot and I can explain a lot many things into these domains, especially this Bauschinger effect, one of the famous effect along with the cyclic softening hardening phenomena. Basics, what is required as per a syllabus, I will cover here in the class. But about Bauschinger effect only, we can talk at least for a week. That much explanation can be provided with various material, how it is going to affect. It is a very beautiful phenomena, the Bauschinger effect, cyclic hardening, cyclic softening phenomena in the material, which material cyclically harden, which material cyclically soften, when to consider these parameters. So there is never ending discussion possible when we come out and discuss with the various type of materials, hard material, softer material, the material which are changing their phases under the cyclic load. So every time it is different. It is a quite explorative topics. Okay. Let us look into in this domain in the next class. I will end here. Let us prepare for the today's quiz. Those who are not there in the meeting, please remind them to come and join in couple of minutes. Okay, fine. So next class we'll look into all these factors. Anybody is having any doubt on all these discussions we had today? Any queries? Please make a note of the summary which I have provided. Three equations and three different curves. Okay. Next class I will also explain about various methods of obtaining this CSSC diagram, cyclic stress strain curve diagram. So today I have explained just one method, that I said you load it up to one magnitude, then remove that specimen till you obtain the stable hysteresis, bring one more specimen. So like that, there are three methods are there, different three methods. We will discuss that in the next class. Okay, fine. If there are no other queries, we'll go ahead for the quiz. Just wait for a minute. I will share the link here in the team. You can access that and answer the quiz. Okay. Quiz link is shared here. Please access the same. So just simple 2 questions. Answer as early as possible, maybe 3 minutes, 4 minutes. Is the link is working fine? Can anyone confirm?
It is working, sir.
Yeah, okay, fine. So those who want to leave the meeting, you can leave. No need to stay here. Class is over. Any queries you have, you can ask. Based on previous discussion also is fine. Or any other queries you have, you can ask. Okay. Those who want to stay back, you can stay back, submit the quiz and then leave, or you can leave and submit, but submit within time. Okay, if there are no doubts, we'll end our session. I think almost all have submitted. You can leave the meeting. Any doubts, any queries anyone is having? Any doubts based on today's quiz or previous quiz, anything? Okay, if there are no doubts, thank you all for joining for today's session. Have a nice day. We'll meet on the next class.